Happy today. I am William Brown from IamWilliamBrown.com. This is Disconnect to Connect in one word conversations. Um, I've been doing this for a couple weeks now, and there are these moments that I don't know if it's imposter syndrome or I don't know what it is, but it's like, okay, is it really taking hold, or are you making a difference, or all that kind of stuff? Well, maybe what happens if you take a day off and and everybody will be gone. And it's just really interesting how when you try something new, what goes through your mind, um, and how you can stick to it. And that's why, the word that we have for today of, tenacity is a very important word for starting something new, or just being in your life and seeing what shows up in your life. So I am happy to have a new friend with me, and I'm going to bring her up. Hopefully I'll push the right button. I'm still working on these buttons here. There's a lot of buttons over here. Good morning. How are you?
I am wonderful. Thanks.
Pam, I would love for you to introduce yourself, however you would like, how you feel comfortable.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, my name is Pamela Lewerenz, and I'm kind of known in the social media world as the brick wall coach. And really all that means is that I coach and mentor solopreneurs. And that is really, my business is kind of twofold. I have that section of it where I mentor the solopreneurs, and then I also work as a chief operating officer for a marketing company out of New York City. So my days are pretty full with juggling those two things.
Now, I'm sure solopreneur will come up again within our conversation. But when you think of the word tenacity, what comes up for you? How is that landing for you in these days?
Yeah, determination. Really, that is at the root of it for me. Being determined to follow my dreams, and that came up in a couple of different ways for me, and just determined to reach my goals. And my goals change, depending on if they're short term or long term. But it's really important for me to remember that word, determination, especially when I hit like that lower point.
Right.
Thinking that I can do that. And I know you talked about imposter syndrome before.
Right.
So yeah, it's a good word. It's a word that's been in my vocabulary for years.
Yeah, it's kind of it hits me at different places because I mentioned in a couple shows that I have an unhealthy relationship with consistency. Sometimes I just stay at doing things just because, it's just to, prove a point to myself, prove a point to other people. And sometimes when tenacity comes up for me, it's like, am I doing this for the right reasons? Am I, still in this, and have the determination to really see this through? And just, do you think that there's a balance in that, that determination or that tenacity?
I do. I think, like you said, you sometimes wonder if you're doing things for other people, for yourself, what other people expect you to be doing.
Right.
It kind of guides you sometimes away from that real why. Like, why,
Right.
Taking that step back and saying, what the heck did I even want to do this for? Is it because I'm passionate about it, or is it because other people just say, oh, that's the thing you're supposed to be doing?
Right. It's like, I am on my book list this month is a book entitled Letting Go. And it's kind of interesting with the power of letting go and talking about tenacity. And it's like, but it is that balancing act. It is that when to let go and when to hold firm and when to, to stay at it. And especially as, solopreneurs or, or entrepreneurs, there are so many iterations of our ideas and our offerings. And it's like, all right, is this working or isn't this working? It's, and what am I going to do next in this?
Right, exactly. Well, I'm going back, like way back to, when I was in high school, there were like tracks of you were college bound or you were business bound. Really, those were
Right.
your two choices way back then. And the generation of my parents were kind of like, guys go to college and girls do either business school or nursing, or they were very, grew up in the World War II era. They sweet people, but that was their belief. So that was, it kind of became our belief. So I think back then is when I really dug in and said, I'm going to do this business thing. Who knew if I'd like it? I loved it. Thank goodness. But yeah, it's kind of like just being, choosing, okay, I'm going to have like a predetermined path that I need to follow. But then as I grew into my adult years, I had to figure out, was I on this path because I was told I should be here, or do I truly love it? Is that where my passion is? Do I feel like I should stay here? And, like anyone else, along with that comes marriage and children and all these other things that don't really get in the way, but sidetrack you from what your original goals are in life.
Right.
It'll take you a little bit longer to get there. But again, I mean, the word just keeps coming up, tenacity. You're just determined that you're gonna get to this place. And I did. I got a scholarship, so I went to a prestigious business school in New England. Then I continued by getting my job. I got married, kids started coming, but I still went to college at night. Like, I had a lot of things to juggle, but I was determined to get there. I wanted to do that.
Yeah. So, you know what, I am, looking back over my life and, and thank you for sharing that and, and everything involved. Cause I can remember back in my high school, days, feeling that there were two tracks or really three tracks. If I want to be honest, it's like, college, you're going to work, or you're going to be on the streets. That's it's like the counselor was just like, it's like, you're going to be a bum, right? It's like, you want to be a bum, or you're going to go to work. So I mean, it's like in my mind, that's what I was hearing for that. And really, when I was deciding what I wanted to do, what I was going to put my attention in, and how I was going to like carve out, the next 5-10 years of my life, I wanted to kind of stay the course, but there was something within me saying, I need to be open to a lot of other things. I need to be open to what life brings, for me. And it's really, I think, that's why it's more of a dance. I feel that I'm very determined about, I guess, living my life and showing up as myself, but all the other things that come up, even my business and relationships, on some cases, they are just like added bonuses. They are just other things that are just a part of me showing up authentically in my life. And so there's a question for me that comes up is, am I determined? Do I have the stick-to-itiveness? Do I have the tenacity to really live this big life when the only thing that I'm really committed to is just being myself? And is that enough?
Yeah. You bring up great points. I always tell people when we start to have this conversation, it's kind of an adapt and overcome. You know where you want to go. You've hopefully written those goals out on a piece of paper. This is where I'm going to be in a year, 5 years, 10 years. And I relate it to the story of I got married young. I had my
Right.
kids when I was young. I had a
Right.
career. It just everything kind of took off and had a snowball effect for
Right.
me to focus on myself and my dreams. They never went away, but they got put on a back burner.
Right.
And it was, I don't even know, maybe like 2012, 2013 that my husband and I started talking and saying, okay, now the kids are like leaving the house and they're done with college and they're starting to get married. And here we are like together, like it's
Right.
a whole new life all over again. Let's take some of those dreams that we had, those goals that we had on the back burner, and let's revisit them. I mean, it's been 20 years. let's figure
Right.
out where we want to be. And that's when we made the decision. We set a 5-year goal. It was our 5-year plan. In 5 years, we're selling our house in New England. We're moving to South Carolina. We weren't sure what we were going to do when we got to South Carolina, but
Right.
we laid the foundation for it. And it took us 5 years, but we did it. We got our house ready. We sold our house. We moved to South Carolina. So here we are. Is this exactly where we thought we were going to be? No.
Right.
I mean, yes, we're in South Carolina. We're not living in the dream house we thought we were going to, but
Right.
now we've got a whole nother set of goals, a whole nother, like course of determination. Now we're
Right.
figuring, okay, now what are we going to do? What's our like 2-year plan? And then what are we
Right.
going to do in 4 or 5 years? And just, it's funny. Life comes in different stages for you.
Right.
And it just unexpected twists and turns along the way.
Right. I've found my way to South Carolina with my emptiness also, right? um, and that was, it wasn't on the plans. It was, I'm one of those people, as I said before, it's like the committed to, doing things right or doing things consistently. And so, we built, a lovely dream house or, in North Carolina, and thought that that's where, we were going to retire and kind of figure out some other things and just have the kids come in and out and all that other kind of stuff. And then life changed, and we've made some different choices. But really seeing at the bottom of that, all of those decisions that were made and the goal setting, of moving that empty nest, it was really, what are we committed to in this next phase of our lives? What are we going to determine to see happen? What actions are we going to stand firm on? And this is self-care Saturday for a lot of
Yeah.
people, and just kind of really unreflective type of thing. But the one thing, for me and my wife, that we decided we wanted to be in a place where we could take moments, we could take a breath, we could take, an opportunity to kind of reflect on how things going and what we really like. There's a lot of part of my life, and I don't know if this is for a lot of other people, that was on autopilot or was really are on pause. It's like you were saying, it was like, all right, this is what I have to do. I'm going to put my dreams on the side, or I'm going to, and kind of do that. And, there was this point that I am not living my life. I'm not living a full enough life for what I want. And so I am not surprised that I don't see things that I want to see. And so do you think tenacity is more of a mindset than an activity, or an action,
Um,
or is it kind of both, right?
I think it can be a combination of both. It's
Yeah,
definitely a mindset. It's
right,
definitely a mindset. But then you have to take it that step further. And I always say, unless you take action on something,
right,
it's fruitless. It's never going to come true. You can think about it all you want, but you actually have to take those action steps, even if they're just
right,
tiny little steps towards
right,
whatever you want to do. I mean, it took us years to like admit to each other that we didn't want to stay in this house that we had raised our kids in. And it was a
mm,
super hard, it was hard for us. I mean, my
mm,
husband had a massive heart attack and triple
right,
bypass. And then, like 5 or 6 months later, my father passed away. And
mm,
my life took on a whole new meaning. My life took on, okay, I need to, be the caretaker for my mother. I had to be the caretaker for my husband. I still had to take care of my kids. I still had to work my job. And so everything, just like you said, came very robotic for me. It was like I got up, I did what I had to do, I went back to bed. I didn't even give myself permission to take even 15 minutes to think about, oh, remember those dreams you had 20 years ago? It
mhm,
wasn't even a thought. It wasn't even a
mm,
thought. It wasn't until we put it into action that we decided, okay, it's time. Let's take that pause and let's talk about it. And for me, and I think for my husband, now that I've convinced him, it's very easy to map these things out. Like it's one thing to have a conversation about them, but to put them to paper and say, what does this look like on paper? What
right.
steps do we need to take in order for us to do this? Just being super determined about it, you know?
Yeah. So, in this time, that we're in, there's a lot of, uncertainty, and there's a lot of, um, I'll just say it, fear and confusion and all that. How do you think tenacity can get us through, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of fear, setting goals. For me, I can see that there were some times when I found it very difficult to set, smart goals, as they say, right? Simple, measurable, and all, all those things, goals, when there was, I felt my life was so much in flux. There are so many things that could happen and everything. How can you stand firm, or what do you think, or how have you stood firm even in those times of uncertainty?
I it is hard. It is really hard. And I think a lot of it is giving yourself grace and knowing that you can't make really big decisions or life altering decisions when there's so many unknown factors.
Right,
And on the same context, or like flipping it, why would you stop trying to live a dream out? Like I've heard a lot of people, because of COVID-19, they're like, oh, it kind of like stopped my business in its tracks. And I'm like, well, why did it stop your business in its tracks? Talking about service-based businesses, especially if
right,
you're running them virtually, why would that stop you? Oh, because, the spouse is now home or the kids are home and there's no time for anything. And there's always time. It's just a
right,
matter of, are you going to carve that time out? Like, how determined are you? Maybe you don't
right,
have 8 hours a day, but do you have 1 hour or two
right,
hours in which you can continue to live that dream and to reach
right.
out towards those goals? So I think it's a little bit of both.
Right. I totally get it. What this time has showed me is that, there were a lot of things that I was saying was reasons for not doing something, that were really excuses, disguise
Exactly. That all the
as
time. It's like you will make every excuse in the book. And I want you to. I want you to take a piece of notebook paper and write out, and I do this all the time, pros and cons, or what is stopping me from going from one client to three clients? Like, what, think of all the horrible things, list them all out, then
right,
take that paper, ball it up, throw it away, and let's write all the things and the reasons why you can do it. There's so
right,
many possibilities. Like I said, even if you set aside 1 hour a day to map out the next steps, and then the next day you take step number one and start working on those things. You will make every excuse in the book, and only, what is that saying? You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make
right,
them drink. So it's kind of
right,
like, make all those excuses. Now let's get over it
right,
and let's get going. But for some people, it's that scary factor of, I'm just
right,
making excuses because, I don't really want it bad enough. Like, you need to have that fire in your belly. And if you don't have the
right.
fire in your belly, it's not going to happen.
Right. And that fire, I believe, and I've been on this journey of self-discovery and self-love, and that's a lot of the conversations that I have in my books, in some of my writing, about, finding yourself, that the more that you know who you are or have an understanding of who you are, the more that your purpose, your drive, your desires, will show up. And what I am learning for myself is, am I going to give myself permission to live my desires, to live what I believe are my understanding of my purpose? And sometimes that's a tough conversation with yourself, right? Right? And it's like, because
That is the key, giving
right,
yourself permission. Just like when people say, yeah, I know everybody has 24 hours in a day, but you don't understand what my life is. My life
right,
is, da, da, da. And I'm like, oh, you don't even have 15 minutes that you can carve out in that day to sit and read a book, or, take a walk, and we find it. We find out they're watching like 3 hours of TV. So we cut that down to 2 hours. There's an hour right there. I mean, there's always
right,
ways to get around things. I think it's becoming creative.
right,
It's making sure you've got that good supportive network out there.
right,
And it's ever helpful to have somebody like an accountability partner who can say, okay,
right,
you said you were going to get this done. What's stopping you? How come you didn't get that done? Like
right,
that kick in the butt, that kick in the pants that
right,
people need. And just playing that whole combination together, that's going to help you. You hear these rags to riches stories all the time. Oh, what a
right,
horrible childhood this one had. But then, they saved can and bottle money and were able to put themselves through school and then became a lawyer. I mean, it happens because they've got that tenacity. They've got that
right,
determination for themselves. Whereas somebody who, graduated and maybe got a scholarship, or their parents paid for their college education and they decided they wanted to party the whole time. And now they're the ones out there saying, well, I can't find a job. It's just, I always tell people, there's a job out there. You just have to look hard enough. It may not be your ideal job, but it's a stepping stone. At least you're making money.
right. And I think, a part of your work, and because how I connected with you, is the solopreneur concept, or the solopreneur idea of recognizing that, I've had many jobs. I had many jobs that I loved, and some jobs that I didn't. But the more that I've embraced creating my work around what I can do and how I can make that offering to the world, and partnering with other people, it's kind of freed me to really uh, just kind of lean into that. And I think that I think the more that we look at what I can do individually, the solo, what it is my individual contribution to my work or to the betterment of my family, however you want to frame it, then you can basically have the tenacity to um, to stay at it, because then it is you. It is me. I am WilliamBrown.com is that for a reason. It's basically to remind me these are the things that I care about, these are the things that I love, and these are the offerings of of what I'm doing. And it's like, can you explain what solopreneur means to you? I wanted to bring that into this conversation because I think that kind of gets to that determination and tenacity level, and that if people can get that.
Yeah, really. I mean, a solopreneur is an entrepreneur, but there's one of you. There's just you, your business, you're wearing 50 different hats. You're trying to do everything in your business, running it solo. And we find out, I mean, it's great to continue to be a solopreneur. And as your business grows, you find out, hey, wait a minute, there's help over here from this one, or I can learn over here. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons I began this group. It's been almost 3 years, because when I came into the online space, and it was all new to me. It was all new to me. Personally, I'd used the online space, but not business-wise. And when I reached out to people and said, oh, you've been in business online for X amount of time, how do you do this? Or how did you manage this or that? Nobody wanted to give the answers up. So I created that group where you can get the support, you can find the answers, and you can, like supplying the tools in the toolbox to people. It's really hard when you're all by yourself, and a lot of people might not have that business background. They're really good at what they do, super good, but they don't know how to run a business. They know how to provide their service, but they don't know the ins and outs. They don't know the finances. They don't know how to, manage projects. They don't know how to streamline processes, all those things that go along that can save time and ultimately save money. And it's important to have that. And I think solopreneurs need to know the support is there for them.
Right. And so, no, and I appreciate that. The one thing that, how I connect a lot of things that sometimes people's like, Bill, I don't know how you can connect that. But, for me, the solopreneur mindset reminds me of my journey in life, that I am on this journey alone with others, And so the more that I embrace that I am alone, there's only one me, right? And so the more that I show up authentically, the more that I see not what's missing or some things that will help me on my journey, the more that I will reach out to other people and within that connection, so I can show up more fully. And so that's why I decided to create this iteration of my business in a solopreneur mentality instead of scaling into this massive thing, is because the more that I know what I want and how I want to work in my business and what I want to offer, and I will look out for what's missing or what can help me on my journey within my network, and to kind of go from there. And I think the more that we're willing to recognize that there's only one us, And the more that we're determined to live that out fully, within our work, within our relationships, and for ourselves. And that's, pretty much what the conversation of disconnect to connect is all about, that we will have this determination. We can create goals in tenacity to really live that way, instead of allowing pandemics and tragedies and traumas in our life to have us all over the place.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. You brought up so many good points, and I think that's what it is. This is your journey, but you're on it with other people, meaning those other people are there to support you in the capacity that you need. If you just need somebody to pat you on the back, if you just need a hug, if you do need to have somebody listen to you, if you have a question about what to use or what not to use or how to do something, that's what it's all about. And you've heard me time and time again in so many of my lives. I always tell people business is just one blip on the radar. Like, we're talking about life, and everything kind of has to be in alignment with that. Yeah, you're going to make goals for your business, but overall, those goals for your business really have to be in alignment with where you're taking your life, where you want to see your life go, because everything interconnects like puzzle pieces. And you can't be over here with your business and your life's not. They have to somehow connect. They have to connect.
Right. And that's why I label myself a business life coach.
Yeah.
I have business conversations with a listening for your life. Because if life occurs to you as, as crazy or out of sorts, you're not going to show up in your business. You're not going to show up at work on the level that will make a difference. And so, I can't tell you 10 ways of being more productive when it's your life. It's crazy. It's when a pandemic is going on. And I realized the biggest challenges that I had in my work history was that I didn't have an integrated life. I didn't have a listening to that. It was like things were going on at home or not going on at home. And I would just like, okay, just kind of squelch that until I go to work, and just kind of deal with all that other kind of stuff. But there were points in my life where when I was at work, I was worried about what was going on at home. And when I was at home, I was worried about what was going on or didn't go on at work. And so I was nowhere. I was nowhere in my life. And I think too often that's how we live, and we can't create goals to move us forward. We can't have this determination, the tenacity to move forward when we're not even present to our life. And so that's what you were saying is like so spot on, because it is just really, it's all about life. It's all
It's all about life and what you want to get out of life, what you can offer to life. It's a combination of all of that stuff, but life is real. This is what it's all about. It's not, hey, I'm going to go into business because, I want to make 250K. Yeah, that can be a goal, but that shouldn't be your main goal. Your main goal of why you're doing this is because it's in alignment with who you are and what your passion is. That's why I went into business. My passion was to help other business owners. And the more I thought about it and the more I niched down, I'm like, I really want to help business owners that are struggling to find the answers and to get those plans put down on paper and to be able to follow them, because that's a missing puzzle piece, and it's a big missing puzzle piece.
Right. And I totally hear you. I recently changed my focus and my target audience to go after dreamers, to have conversations with people who identify themselves as a dreamer, those that are living their dream, and those that feel that their dream is slipping away from them. that they, and because the one thing that I have seen in this time, in this pandemic, is that it's not just people that are out of work or businesses closing. There's a lot of dreams that are dying.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people that are like, what now? I did all my life work, and who I feel that I am, I can't do anymore. And so I want to have conversations with them that they can dream again, and they can reconnect to their dream, and they can still live it in spite of all these different circumstances. And it was very tough for me to use that language because, I come from the tech space. So, zeros and ones, right? Very logical, AV, all that other kind of stuff. And so a lot of my clients are in that mindset, and when I talk about mindset and mindfulness and all that kind of stuff, their eyes glaze over, take a breath and all that other kind of stuff. And I'm like, okay, wait a second. I need to kind of figure out, because I knew how important it was and I wanted to help them with that, but they didn't have the listening for it. And so I realized for myself, my passion is staying connected to my dream, staying connected to my purpose. And, when I had one of my failing businesses, the hardest thing, even though it was hard that I lost a lot of money, the hardest thing was me feeling that this was it. I went after my dream and it didn't happen. And it's like, now what? And I just being able to recharge and reconnect to my dreaming, and feeling that I can, go back at it was what brought me to this, and I'm so glad that I was able to connect with people like yourself that are passionate and that have me see through this new dream that I have for myself.
Yeah. Well, this is great. This is great. You're talking and I'm thinking, oh man, same kind of stuff went on with me. Like in 2013, 2014, we took a trip. We were supposed to be on this wonderful 2-week vacation alone for the first time for 2 whole weeks. Like we'd never spent that much time alone. And we had all these plans carefully mapped out. And of course it rained. They were all like outdoor plans and it rained every day. So on day 14, we're getting ready to pack up and go home and the sun comes out. It was a great time. And I tell everybody it was one of the best 2-week periods of my life, because that's when I thought, I'm going to take all these thoughts, all these journal entries, all this stuff I've been doing for years, and I'm going to just process everything. I have time. This is what it's for. I'm going to sit on the back deck and I'm going to process this through. And at the end of the time, I just said to my husband, I woke up, I said, what would you say if I wanted to open up my own business? And he was like, I'm all for it. And I said, you don't even know what it's going to be. Get that far. And he said, I know that whatever you're going to do, you will be successful at. And I just thought, on my dark times, the times when I'm like, is this really going to work or not? That's what I kept, going back to that and holding on to it and saying, look, if I can't believe in myself, I've got somebody else strong enough who believes in me is going to push me. He's going to keep on pushing me. And that's what it was. And was the very first business that I opened successful. It was successful money-wise, but it wasn't successful business plan-wise because I was spending like 70 hours a week getting the work done. So I had to go back to square one and reconfigure everything.
Right.
And it's not, I'm looking at it because I was the first one to say, oh, that was a failure. Oh, I tried that and I failed at it. They're learning experiences. Like if I hadn't gone through that, I wouldn't have known. Right. And I was smart enough, and I say this to everybody, the only reason I was smart enough, meaning I was mindful enough to say, okay, put the brakes on. You've been doing this now for like 18 months and you're now spending 70 hours a week at it. The joy went out of it. And
Right.
like my balloon had deflated. I'm like, okay, this is not at all what my dream was. My dream was to own my own business, help people, but not work over 40 hours a week. So
Right.
take one piece of the equation out, insert something else, and keep on moving. Like I didn't want to get discouraged. And believe me, there were a lot of times when I did, but I built that group of people around me that kept saying, no, you can do this. It's okay. Keep going.
Right. No, what I and thank you for that. I got the other thing that I just got was when we're to help us in our mindset of tenacity and determination. Um, there's support in that. You're not alone in that, and finding a level of support and community that will help you through that will keep you well. I guess will help you through the determination through that times where you want to say is this the right thing, or is this should I punt and kind of go with something else. And really, the more that you have the conversations of what you're really feeling, what you think of something, it will, you were just telling it to yourself. I said the difference between yeses and hell yeses is the hell yes is you're not just telling it to other people, you're telling it to yourself. I mean it. Right? There's like you put some bass in it, right? And then it's like it's going to happen. So no, this has been great, and I know we can talk for hours on this.
Oh yeah,
but
definitely.
do you have any last words, or any way that you want to have people get in touch with you, or and kind of see what you're up to?
Yeah. Well, the best way to get in touch with me is through my website, which I believe is scrolling at the bottom of the page there, brickwallcoach.com. You'll get connections to social media platforms. You get connection to my blog. I do a weekly blog. My podcast, all that kind of stuff is out there. So it's all on my website. And yeah, I think my only parting words is, oh my gosh, get those goals down on paper, work out a strategy, get your core group of people who are going to help support you, reach out and find the tools and just go for it. If this is a dream you've had and you're going to know. You're going to know. You're going to feel that passion. You're going to feel that fire in your belly. And I say, go for it. It's how are you going to know unless you try?
Amen, Howard. I got that. Well, thank you very much. If you can stay in the green room for a little bit, I'll end this show, and then I'll come back and say goodbye to you. Thank you very much, Pam.
Thank you.
Wow, I hope you enjoyed this conversation. I did not know how I was going to feel about it, and because as I said before, I have this this unhealthy relationship with consistency and holding on to things, and want to do things for a point. But tenacity, I believe that there is support, there is passion, there is determination. There are all of these other things connected to it that will help you see that goal and that reality, and recognizing, for me, the things that I need to let go and be okay with letting go or stop doing are the things that are not helping me achieve my goal. It's like that's one of those easy but not simple things that, in my category of things to do. But thank you very much for spending this time with me, and Pam. Um, I like to close, these conversations with, the world wants you, the world needs you, and the world has been waiting for you. So go be you. I am WilliamBrown.com. Talk to you tomorrow.